Apparently, what's this, Raven? Do I even want to give this fucking guy attention? What is this? A furry went to Fanfest with COVID and made a comic about it. Like, what the fuck is this? Fanfest.mp4. Is this why we can't have nice things? Oh, Jesus Christ. So, okay, did this guy found out he had COVID before he went, I guess. He's at Las Vegas. I was looking forward to this trip forever. After 2 whole weeks of arduous work travel, I can finally have some time off to relax and have fun. It's time to meet my Final Fantasy XIV friends for the first time IRL. Why are they furries, man? Got some people. We had everything planned. The fancy dinners to eat, the Vegas shows to attend. It was going to happen all weekend long. We met on Thursday night and had an excellent dinner together. After our first Vegas night together, we all retired to our rooms, excited for the FanFest first day. Friday, the first day, 7 a.m. The hell was that? A shiver. Probably just my body not used to extreme heat. 20 minutes later, Dayquil and mask up. Better safe than sorry. You know I'm going to be there at 7 a.m. I hear some people are even planning to line up at 5 a.m. Effie's just being crazy. No way it'll be that bad. Jesus Christ, this is insanity. It's 8 a.m. The doors won't even open till 10. We got in the queue. The crazy part was always 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Funny enough, that same weekend there was a basketball event going on in the same hall. With each passerby, you could definitely tell who was going to each gathering. Our log doors finally opened. Okay, so he felt a little rough in the morning, right? That's fair. Gigantic banner. The air was filled with anticipation. Val tried to sneak in, but was spotted and turned away. He went back to the hotel to watch. So someone turned up without a ticket. Well, I imagine... I don't know if they were dressed in the furry outfit when they were there. Fuck that in Las Vegas heat. Jesus Christ. The show floor was really cool. Each area themed after in-game zone. Each zone had their own mini-game to play. Playing them gets you a special gift. I didn't find out what the gift was. When the keynote started, the place got packed. So packed that I got nervous. Honestly, the keynote was fairly predictable and mid. I thought it was good. In hindsight, I wasn't sure what I expected considering they say the cool stuff for Japan FanFest anyways. During the whole time, I was just nervous thinking about the crowd rush. By the time the keynote ended, my legs were killing me. Like an hour long. And there goes my whole FanFest experience. At 1:30 p.m. after the keynote, we quickly made for the exit and opted to go to Gordon Ramsay's Burger for lunch. Oh crap, suddenly I felt chills and body aches during our walk over. My condition worsened when we arrived. The burger I ordered looked like a daunting foe. I could feel Gordon's ever-judging face staring at me, pounding away at my sanity. All I could do is pick up my burger. Chills continue to rack... Then leave, dude. Go. I started feeling a hard pounding behind my eyes. I'm sat close to others. I need to go. Yes, the day... Okay, so he did leave. All right. I felt so drained that I couldn't even bear a trip with the monorail, opting for an Uber instead. I got back to the hotel and collapsed feverish and nauseous. Okay. I couldn't sleep. My whole body under the sheets felt like it was on fire. Meanwhile, my head felt like it was a tundra. Pain to congestion. I felt like my head was going to explode. All I remember was lying in bed thinking, this is COVID, isn't it? Later that night, Bain stopped by Walgreens to get a COVID test for me. The hell do I do? Did I infect others? Vegas quarantine. How much shall I have to shell out? Oh, God. American health system kicking in. How much will changing my flight costs? I got my work. I don't even have my laptop with me. There goes all my vacation plans. I'm going to die. Google will know what to do. Stay in your room. Blah, blah, blah. I'm staying here, and I just found out I tested positive for COVID. What are your quarantine policies? We offer you no contact room service for basic necessities you need, but we'll be stopping housekeeping. Hope you understand. Okay. Can I extend your stay for quarantine? No, we're a large hotel and we're full. So, after Sunday, my checkout time, I just out my own. Yes, sir. All right, then. How about my friends? They're with me in my suite. Wait, you were all staying together? At full capacity, sorry, sir. I hope you feel better soon. That was a useless call. Quarantine would be about 5 days, so I'll need to extend my stay for 4 more days. That's $800 just to fester and suffer. What do you do in this scenario, actually? If you can't afford to get home, what do you do? I'm not sure what the US policy is on traveling at the moment with that. What do you do? Rent a car? I mean, it depends where he lives, right? I mean, the US is huge. If he lives East Coast, that's what, like a 5 to 6 day drive or something. Right, all the options are terrible. I need to go home. Luckily, the flight change wasn't too costly. I assume he didn't tell them it was... Oh, okay, so he's traveling after quarantine. A slight roughly edge alone. The hotel Vegas folks clearly don't seem to care about spreading it anymore, it seems. No, they don't. They don't in the UK either. Fanfest is already a bust for me at this point. I might as well just cut my losses here and at least suffer comfortably at home. Very next day, I left at 11 a.m. I left my Fanfest wristband behind for... How did he leave early? I left my Fanfest wristband behind for all. For Val, he couldn't get a ticket. The whole trip back home, I couldn't help but feel like eyes were on me. Wait. He just fucking got up and left? Because of my double masking, or was I looking particularly sick? Oh no, I finally made it home. I feel guilty as hell traveling while sick, but honestly, what was I to do? Hopefully my double masking was effective enough to prevent any spreading. Yeah, he didn't do the quarantine. Just I see why he got blasted. Well, I think he's made the comment because he felt like he had no choice. The hotel knew about the COVID, so they would have done their stuff. I mean, his friends would have had to deal with that in some way. I mean, his friends should have asked them to, like, sanitize the room after he left or something. And he tries to defend himself. Yeah. What would you have done? The guy doesn't say where he lives. What would you have done? I mean, adding $800. How many of you could add $800 to your trip? Although he didn't go out anymore, so I assume he must have had some money. You could have stayed in a cheaper hotel or something. It is a tough situation. It's not as cut and dry as blasting the guy. You need more detail on this. No, you shouldn't travel with COVID. Obviously, you're putting people's lives at risk. But what would you have done? Well, I'm trying to think what I would have done. What would I have done? Let's say, okay. It's hard to say. What would I have done in that situation? Like if we got to BlizzCon or something. Okay, so let's take BlizzCon for an example. It's coming up. We're all staying in an Airbnb, me and the team. We get there, and probably Chris gets COVID. I'm going to blame Chris. I'm going to throw Chris under the bus. So we're all staying together in one house. Chris turns up with COVID. What a dick. Let's blame it all on Chris. Easy game, easy life. I mean, what I would do is sort Chris out an alternative place to stay to quarantine. It would be a shithole because it would be expensive because it's California. But like, obviously we can't. It's easier to move one person than it is to move like 5.
Keep on gaming, smile.
That had to have been the solution, right? The guy clearly had money. He's going to Gordon Ramsay's burger place. So you clearly had some money. You just couldn't stay in that hotel, assuming it was not a super cheap hotel. I mean, you had a suite in Las Vegas. That's not cheap by any means. And you're not going out to the restaurants and stuff anymore. You're not buying merch. So you will have had some backup money. And there are very cheap places to stay in Vegas. That should have been what happened here. Right? I'm not sure how it works with calling a job in America especially, to say I've got COVID these days and I can't work or whatever. I don't have my laptop. Will some kind of travel insurance cover the quarantine costs? I have no idea. I have no idea. But I know if we were going to, let's say it's day one of BlizzCon, somebody's feeling really unwell, it might be COVID. One, you're absolutely not going to the event, which he didn't. Like, once he thought it was COVID and got texted, he stopped going to the event, which is fair. The traveling home is where he's getting blasted, I assume. But a cheap place to let you in with COVID? I don't know. No, he went when he was, like, might have had, like, a cold or something, which is pretty normal in conventions. It was only after he left. No, that's not true. No, he went when he was feeling like something was wrong, and he thought it was the heat. At least if we take his word for it, yes, you've been stood outside at 100-degree Fahrenheit heat, which is pouring with sweat and uncomfortable anyway, and then going into an arena hall. It was later when he thought he had COVID. And I will play devil's advocate here. Not everybody's testing for COVID the minute they sneeze or have a shiver. They're not. They're absolutely not doing immediate COVID tests. Not everybody's doing that. Some people would do that, but there are definitely not a lot of fucking people like, oh, I've had a shiver this morning, I'm immediately sticking a swab up my nose. Like, that's, yeah, maybe a couple of years ago, but not now. Like, we used to travel with COVID tests, especially because I do like the race to world first and stuff. Can you imagine if one of us infected the players? Like, we've put Alex and Jordan into quarantine, along with some of the production team. We've had to put them into quarantine. The guy had been traveling for a week, 2 weeks prior to the event, didn't get a test before that. I wouldn't. I've just traveled to New Zealand and Australia. I haven't done a COVID test. I don't know what the, like, cultural thing is right now, but at least in the UK, that's not a thing. Yeah, like, we just don't do that anymore. Are you going to a crowded convention soon? Yeah, it was at ExileCon. Absolutely. I travel all the time. I mean, now? No, but if I had a... I mean, one, I feel perfectly fine. But if BlizzCon was next week, no, I wouldn't do a test. Oh, I'm not saying this is an excuse. No, don't get me wrong. I want to be clear on this, John. I'm not saying what he did was right at all. Like, no, jumping on a plane, knowing you have COVID, fuck you. You're like, you're putting people's lives at risk. But I'm saying, what would you do in this situation? What's the solution? Like, if I had to deal with this situation, what would I have done?
I take my temperature a lot.
If I felt sick, yeah, for sure.
Because of my stem cell transplant. I've had like 8 COVID jabs, ha.
Yeah, to be clear, if I felt ill, yeah, I would COVID test, 100%, if I felt remotely ill. This guy's saying he didn't feel ill until the day of the event. Right? That's what he was saying. He didn't feel ill until the morning of it. Which is, I've had COVID twice, and yeah, it comes on pretty quickly. Like, once you know you've got it, it like, you feel that headache and stuff like that. I felt well. Yeah. This guy did not, though, right? You got to be clear on that. This guy did not feel unwell, if we could believe what he said, until that. I'm not defending him, by the way. Jumping on a fucking plane with COVID is totally moronic. Like, now you're spreading it to all parts of the country. Like, that's just a fucking complete dick move. What do you mean he did? Yeah, he took pills, what, that morning? Is what he said? Where was it? Hold. We have to go back through the... This is a furry comic. Like, what are we doing? He got a shiver. Okay, first day of Fanfest. This is a furry comic. Like, it's the worst thing in the world. So horrible. First day of Fanfest, 7 a.m. But the hell was that? Probably just my body not used to extreme heat. Should I use some Dayquil and mask up? Question mark. Better safe than sorry. But are you assuming, when you say this is bullshit, are you assuming that, like, this guy is lying? I'm taking it from what it is. If he's lying, then it doesn't matter anyway. Our whole discussion is mute. Well, we're talking based on what he's saying. Why did I wake up with a shiver? Probably not used to the heat. I better use some Dayquil and mask up just in case. So I think many people in this are assuming he knew he had COVID that morning. Is that an assumption you're rolling with? and not what he's actually saying in the comic. A lot of people were masked up at ExileCon. Yeah. A little bit. I'm doing... I tend not to anymore. He said on Reddit he'd been feeling unwell the day... Oh, wait. There's more to the story. Oh. He knew he was unwell. As I said, that doesn't track for you. Okay. So he went on to say he was ill the day before. Right, yeah. See, that's a piece of the puzzle I didn't have. The point, I mean, coming back to it though, right? The point is, no, you should not jump on a fucking plane knowing 100% you have COVID. Like, that is just an absolute piece of shit thing to do. That's just disgusting. Right? You shouldn't do that. Regardless of what he's added afterwards or whatever, like, that situation is just untenable. You can't do that. It still ruins people. Like, absolutely ruins people. Now don't we understand though why this thing kept fucking spreading though with decisions like this? That it just would not fucking go away. Call insurance to do something? It was the worst. It was the fucking worst. It just would not go away. It still hasn't. No. I would like to have been, if we could like track it in a video game or something, some system. I would like to have known what would happen if we did do a full lockdown for a few weeks. In a hypothetical where they could fly home without enough money to stay for the quarantine, what do you think they should do? That's where my brain went. Yeah, like I don't think there's any discussion to be had about whether or not you should get on a plane with COVID knowingly, even with fucking 10 masks on your face. But what should you do if you don't have the? It's really tricky. Because I'm going off the assumption there's no support in the US for people to be like, I'm in a shit situation. What help can I get for this? I have to assume that's a situation. Given what we know about the American healthcare system. Yeah, given what we know about the US healthcare system. No, I don't know the details, but I assume it's like, oh, you've earned your freedom to be fucked, essentially. And deal with it. What the fuck do you do? I don't know. You've got to try and call someone or something. You need some help, don't you? That's the ultimate answer. You need some help. Renting a car would be viable, but depending on how far you have to go. Otherwise, it's untenable. The most reasonable solution is to try and find a cheap place to stay and do the quarantine and then be fine, right? Change your flight. Which should be cheap. At least it was over here. Yeah, I agree with you, John, there. I think the only solution I can really think of is to try and stay somewhere very, very cheap. I don't know what the cheapest place to stay in Las Vegas is, but having been there, there are some very, very cheap places to stay for the gambling addicts. It's not going to be a nice situation by any means, but... Well, some people just don't have $800. Like, a lot of people just don't have that. I assume he did, though. Anybody who's traveling, like he boasted about, we're going to Las Vegas, we're going to take in shows, we're going to go to, like, Gordon Ramsay restaurant, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to fully assume this guy absolutely had the money to do this. Like, that to me seems unbelievable that you had the resources to go to Las Vegas shows, to go and do all these... I mean, I didn't eat at those fucking restaurants. They were too expensive, right? I'm a cheapskate. I'm not eating at those fucking places. There ain't no way. An element of him calling Fanfest boring too. Who gives a fuck about what he thinks about Fanfest? No one cares. I didn't like it. Good for you. Fucking wow.
30 months and not a minute wasted.
Who cares? A suite is super expensive, but it's divided by what, like 5 people? I mean, that's what suites are for, right? It's you're not living that celebrity lifestyle where you're a one guy getting a suite. Because apparently one person needs like 5 rooms to stay in a hotel where you're never even on the premises. Yeah, it's about risking other people's lives. It's about having compassion for other people. You might be fine, but it's not about you. It's about the person you sat next to. That was the whole thing with COVID, right? It's not about you and you being fine. It's about the person you're talking to and the situation they're in that you don't know about, and their family members who aren't at home and all that. Like, that's how viruses spread. It's not about you. You could be a young, even though it did affect a lot of young people as well, but it's not about that. It's about the chain of causality. Empathy is tough in a lot of people, especially younger people, right? Who are immortal in their own eyes. They don't consider the chain of events. I mean, you've seen those, like, fucking videos of how, like, viruses spread with the UV light. It's fucking scary. We get that? Like, where they put people... Have you got one, John? You probably know one of these videos. Where they, like... put the stuff on one person's hands, then they come back after like 20 minutes and literally everybody is covered in it. I can't find one. All these things are about UV lights. Virus spread demonstration, maybe? I saw a really, really good one with, like, they just put people in a room for about 10 minutes. Oh, is Mark Rober done one? Yeah, kind of. It's not the one I'm looking for. Hold.
I've always thought if we could somehow just see the germs around us, everyone would be a lot more careful and we'd get sick way less. Unfortunately, that's still not possible. So I did the next best thing by running a day-long experiment in this 3rd grade classroom. I found this powder called Glow Germ, and just like real germs, when it's on your hands, you can't see it. But unlike real germs, if you turn a black light on, it becomes visible. But it transfers to things you've touched, so it provides a really good way to visualize exactly.
Oh, this is horrible.
So before the kids arrived, as a control, I went
it's horrible.
Any pre-existing spots in the room that fluoresced under the black light, and then it was go time. The kids, of course, had no idea what we were doing, and
yeah, it's when you see it, it's like Jesus Christ.
So she randomly shook the hands of 3 kids, but didn't touch any of the rest. And so with that, they just went about their normal day. At break, I did choose one random student, and he agreed to letting me put some of the powder on his hands too. And then 2 hours later at lunchtime, I checked the results.
It's everywhere.
Everything you see here started with just the teacher and 1 student.
No, you should be anxiety ready. You should just be aware of how these things can spread without you realizing them.
To better visualize our observations of where germs were left behind, including on the other kids.
Uh-oh, we're pretty hot over here. Oh, right here.
And they were actually pretty diligent about washing their hands. This was the desk of the kid that was infected. And what's
are you a germaphobe? Yeah, I mean, it's standard stuff and we all deal with it every single day, but it's worth realizing just how much it can spread. And that's what you need to be aware of if you're carrying something that's dangerous, right? That's the point. If you're carrying something dangerous, you need to be aware of how much it's like. You can't just stick a mask on and hope for GG's. Okay, Bex. I've seen the messages many times. It's fine. We'll show it in a bit. Do you know you touch your face 2,000 times a day? Yeah. I play with a dog and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, spread the germs. Spread.